My name's Abbie Brooks. My sister Molly was killed in November 2022. She was a passenger in her own car. She was 19 at the time. Yeah, she was absolute sunshine. I always say she was sunshine personified. She came into a room, she just radiated positivity. You'd feel her there before you saw her. She loved being an auntie to my son. My son's got additional needs, and she took to being an auntie so much better than I thought she would. I never doubted her, but watching her with my son just filled me with immense pride to see my younger sister and my little boy together. And my little boy took to her really well. I had huge trust in her to look after him. She was there literally from day one, right through until she was killed. It was a Sunday, it was early November. My husband and I and our little boy had gone out shopping for the day. We were planning to start our Christmas shopping. We'd gone out for a few hours in the morning, we'd come back early afternoon. My husband was due to work a night shift on that Sunday, so started the evening routine. And we were probably in bed around 9:30, 10 o'clock, and that was it really. I was expecting to go about my Monday morning like any other. And then I was woken up around 2, 3 a.m. By my husband. He was stood at the end of the bed, shaking me to wake me up. And as I came to, he said, there's been a crash. Molly's gone through the windscreen, and they're taking her up to QE in Birmingham. And I immediately said, oh, that's not good. And I went into kind of autopilot, I think. And I checked my phone, I had a load of missed calls from my mum. My phone was on silent, I was asleep. And I rang her back and I FaceTimed her actually, and I could see that she was being blue lighted in the back of a police van up to Queen Elizabeth. And I'd got there, my parents were already there. And Molly was following on behind in the ambulance. We had about 3 doctors come into the room and say that she had a brain injury. And initially I was like, okay, well that's fine, like, we can adapt the house for her, and if she's disabled, that's all right. We'll make it work. We'll work out a way. That's not a problem. And they said, oh no, that it's not. She's not going to recover. There's no sign of life. And we said, okay, well there will be something that they can do. It'll be fine. We went into the room, and still kind of just believing that she'd be absolutely fine. And we went in there, and she was all wrapped in blankets. She had a metal rod put into her head to measure the extent of damage, to see if there was any brain activity. And we were told, and it was confirmed then, that yeah, she was brain dead, and there was nothing that they could do with her. And I just remember how harrowing that was. I remember hearing a noise and not realising that it was me that was making the noise. I was physically sick, my dad was physically sick, and it was just that feeling of helplessness. There was nothing we could do to help her. We spent a few hours with her. We came back that morning, got a few bits together. I drove myself and my parents back up to the hospital that night. We spent all evening with her. We put the Santa Claus on, which was mine and Molly's favourite Christmas film. We watched that every year. So I lay with her in bed and put that on, and we watched that together. They did the final test and confirmed, yeah, there was no brain activity. She was removed off her life support just before midnight, and then she died shortly afterwards. And we left the hospital about an hour later, just with a box of things. Molly was my only sibling, and I could see that, the pain that was kind of being caused to my mum and dad, and I just thought, I'm just going to have to hold it. I'm just going to have to hold it together. And I guess I kind of thought, if I can hold it together for them, then they'll get to a place where, they can then hold me in return. Molly had a forensic post-mortem, her brain was removed and sent off for testing. She died in the November, and she wasn't laid to rest until the middle of March. So we had 4.5 months where, you know, we tried to have some sort of a Christmas. We had Molly's 20th birthday, my birthday. We knew that Molly wasn't laid to rest, and essentially she was, you know, in the morgue. That was really difficult. It felt really inhumane to even try and carry on whilst she was there. Initially we thought that Molly was the driver. It was her car that was crashed, but she was actually a passenger in her own car that was being driven by somebody who had had their licence revoked. So he had no licence and no insurance. He was under the influence of drugs and alcohol. He was speeding. He blamed Molly. He said that Molly was the driver. He wasn't cooperative at all. So I think initially that was really difficult for my family to try and wrap their heads around how that could have happened, because we knew that she was such a safe driver. We knew all the precautions that she would take. You know, she was really safe. She was a really, really good driver, and we couldn't work out how this had happened. I had a really good family liaison officer. That experience for myself and my family was phenomenal. I was initially referred to RoadPeace probably within about a week of Molly being killed. And for me personally, that wasn't the right time. I was still trying to kind of get my head around everything. And then a few months later, I reached out again and said, oh, actually, I think I am ready now. And that's when I wanted to do something in Molly's memory. I wanted to organise a fundraiser. And I thought, well, I've got to fundraise for something. So I thought, oh, I'll tell you what, we'll do a fundraiser and we'll find some charities then that we can donate to. And RoadPeace was one of them. And then within that, I thought, yeah, I am ready for a bit of support now. So it kind of came parallel. I always say, I obviously wish that I was never introduced to RoadPeace in the first place. Like, I wish I still had my sister here. But RoadPeace has been the family for me that I didn't know that I needed. And I thought I was okay, and I thought I could do it on my own, and actually I couldn't. And to have people around me that could hold me whilst I held them worked. I always said naively, oh, well, things like that don't happen to families like ours, because we were just a normal family. We were going about our everyday lives. Like, there was no kind of factors that would suggest that anything like this would happen to us. You know, we didn't drive dangerously. Molly wasn't a dangerous driver. She was 19. She was just kind of learning, you know, the way of the world. I would just say that the choices that you're making behind the wheel sometimes aren't going to affect you. They're going to affect other families and other people. And, you know, the person that killed my sister, albeit he's in prison, he's still here, and he will walk free one day, and he will carry on with his life. And my sister's life was ended when she was 19, and I wouldn't wish what we've been through on my worst enemy, let alone somebody as sweet and innocent as Molly.